Yeah, welcome back. It's a Tuesday show. I want to apologize for yesterday. Pull up to the studio. Crew is outside. They're digging up the tunnels underneath the building. It was a whole thing. No power on this block all the way till it went till like 3 or something like that. So we do apologize. That's happened once before since the move to the new studio. So hopefully it's not a reoccurring theme. I'm not crashing out yet, but over the weekend, Bears lose. Syracuse loses. My undefeated fantasy team loses, but Jets, they get a W. Scotty's Jets get a win. Scotty, do you want to say anything about the Jets win there, Scotty?
No, I have nothing to say. I was actually looking forward to the 0-17 to be like, hey, we're the first team to do this. Look at us.
Oh man, oh man. The fact that that was a prospect is that sucks, man. But hey, win for Scotty. Win for Scotty. Rod, stepdad. Rod, look at this. Look at this. After Trump reconstructing the presidency, he heard the passion with which I expressed my hope for an ideal like this, for a possibility like this, that people so much smarter than myself see a future after all of this, see a real future, a real plan. I can't wait to dive in. Thank you, Rod. Thank you. Can't wait to dive in. Can't wait. Now, Trump himself, he is traveling. So we've got other things to get to before we catch up with this guy, his lies, his maneuvers here domestically. But right now he is traveling. Somewhere he was between Kuala Lumpur and Tokyo. And he was asked about a third term. I'm wearing this shirt for a reason today. I got it on again. It's the second or third time I've worn it. Today it's for a reason. He was asked about a third term. Yeah, we're going to dig in just a little bit on this. He said, I would love to do it. But he added, then this was this morning, he added, I hadn't really thought about it, although my allies certainly have. I mean, we're all thinking about it now, Don. We're all thinking about it now. Now, he has given us conversational off-ramps. He's not going as hard at this as he had other things. It reminds me a lot of his Project 2025 rhetoric. I don't know what it is. I don't know who the authors are. My presidency won't be based on it. What are you talking about? Meanwhile, he adheres to it religiously. And its authors are being promoted to the highest levels of our government, right? Like our FCC commissioner, Brendan Carr, author of the FCC portion, and Russ Vought, OMB director, one of the main architects, and the guy who is now executing it step by step. He didn't know anything about that. And now he doesn't really know anything about this, right? He's not going hard at this like he wasn't going hard at Project 2025, which means he's absolutely capable of going completely right at it. Bullseye right in the middle of a next term. Now, some of the off-ramps he's giving us is, he gave us a few off-ramps on this, all right? He gave us a few off-ramps. Here's one.
One theory on how you might try to serve a third term is that you could run as the vice president.
Yeah, I'd be allowed to do that.
Is it the White House or the White House counsel to your legal position?
No, you'd be allowed to do that, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. And I think it's too cute. Yeah, I would rule that out.
It's too cute.
It's too cute.
It's too cute.
I think the people wouldn't like that. It's too cute.
It's too cute.
It's not. It wouldn't be right.
Okay, so that's one little off-ramp he's giving us. Hey, it's too cute. We're going to get into there's three main ways that they see this going down. His allies and Steve Bannon specifically, who spoke on it, and shockwaves throughout Capitol Hill as this guy is now being open about it, saying the quiet part out loud. But there's one off-ramp when asked about possibly being VP to J.D. Vance's presidential nominee. And then J.D. Vance comes into office and immediately steps down and cedes the presidency to Donald Trump for a third term. That's one way. They've also suggested that a constitutional convention could be called by 38 states, or 34 states need to call one. 34 states need to be called to call a constitutional convention, and that convention would be surrounded around striking the 22nd Amendment. Can't serve a third term. It's very simple. We don't have to do some deep dive into that amendment. You know what it is. They all know what it is. Can't serve a third term. Boom. Period. So they're saying, hey, we can get a constitutional convention together. We just need 34 states to do it. and we can strike the 22nd Amendment from the Constitution. Boom, bing, bang, boom. Well, it's not quite bing, bang, boom. That would take a while. That would take a long time. And the odds of that happening by 2028, very slim. So that's probably not it. Another one, Congress could get involved. To amend the Constitution, 66% House and Senate. 66 in the Senate will never happen again. As long as the Senate is the Senate, 66 votes will never happen again. Period. You all know that to be true on the right and the left and the middle. It doesn't matter who you are. That's obvious. That's obvious math. 66 votes in the Senate will never, ever happen. So, and even other people have said on the Hill, they're not down. Republicans have said, not really, don't have an appetite for this. Now, one radical, Rep. Andy Ogles from Tennessee, he put a resolution out to do just that, to get the ball started, to get the ball rolling, to get the process started. But that stalled, immediately stalled. There's no appetite for that on the Hill. So the third way would be for him to be vice president to J.D. Vance's president, and then have J.D. Vance step down, give him the presidency. That's how it could happen. If you're wondering how it can happen, let's just get to the meat and potatoes. Now, there's obviously another option that I've talked about, which is we're in an emergency right now. We're at war with Venezuela. We're at war with Colombia. We're at war with the cartels. And we just can't have an election right now with all of this turmoil, all of these violent insurrections and wars that we're dealing with. We can't do an election right now. We can't do it. It's an emergency. And like I said, a couple weeks ago, they'll come out and they'll say, look, he has a mandate to protect this country, a mandate given to him by the people. And you've already got, just the nicest guy you can imagine, Stephen Miller, out here saying plenary authority over the military. He's not just talking about Title 10. He's talking about plenary authority. And we'll get into all of these themes. So that is a fourth option, obviously. That is a fourth option. Now, if you think I have TDS, you're like, Brett, obviously. I mean, just feels like that's one of the directions we could possibly be heading. And obviously, it's an option. I'm not saying obviously he'll do that. I'm saying obviously shutting down elections is an option. Probably an enticing one for somebody who sees himself as a dictator or a king. Or a king. I mean, they come out, this King's Day, the King's Day rhetoric is crazy to me, honestly. They're saying, the right is out here saying, how dare you have a no king's rally? If we had a king, you wouldn't be able to rally. You wouldn't be able to protest. It's such a flimsy garbage argument. Number one, it's if we had an evil king, like a despot king, like a brutal king, then yes, they would not let you protest or rally or get together. A normal person who may be king, not that there was many of those, may just let that go on, but I digress. No, it's not because he's a king now. It's because we're trying to keep him from fully becoming king, which he sees himself as. I mean, he's had mocked imagery of him, a fake Time magazine cover with the presidency slot under the picture going to 2028 and then on and on and on. Furthermore, right? He's got his AI that he posts on social media of him flying a jet with a king's crown on, dumping crap on protesters. He sees himself as a king. Stop telling us if we had a king, you wouldn't have been able to rally. No, we're trying to prevent a king that will not allow us to rally going forward. It's very simple. It's very simple. So what's he saying about this? We'll get to what Bannon's saying about it in a second. But what's Trump saying about it? He's selling his merch. You know that. He's got his 2028 hats, his T-shirts, can coolers. He's got his merch. But what's he saying? Well, at a Turning Point Summit in 2019, they chanted 4 more years, 4 more years. He said, thank you, thank you. Now, this is leading up to his failed 2020 election. He said, now, if you want to drive him crazy, go 16 more years, 16 more years. And on the campaign trail, on that same campaign trail, in front of a different crowd, he said, we are going to win 4 more years. And then after that, we'll go for another 4 because they spied on my campaign. We should get a redo of our first 4. And just this year, in April, just this year, he told NBC in an interview, we have almost 4 years to go. That's a long time, but despite that, so many people are saying you've got to run again. And then pointing out, I'm not joking. I mean, I guess I would suggest that this is the first time that you take him at face value. For the first time Donald Trump has been speaking to you, take him for face value. If they tell you who they are and what they're going to do, believe them. Believe them. Those are his 3 legal outlets. And Bannon is all about it. While he jokes about it and then gives us little off ramps, another off ramp he gave us. Another off ramp he gave us is, hey, we've got 2 great candidates. I mean, if I don't run for another term, we've got Marco Rubio and we've got J.D. Vance, and I can't imagine anybody on our side wanting to challenge either one of those 2, which isn't really amusing to me. That's a direct order. That sounds like a direct order to me. If I was a Republican senator, Republican governor, House member, that sounds like a direct order to me. If you're not J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, don't bother running. Don't bother running. The Kingmaker has spoken. The Kingmaker has spoken. But Steve Bannon, he's out here saying Trump is going to be president in 28, and people ought to just get accommodated with that. Yeah. Here, listen to him.
Well, he's going to get a 3rd term. So Trump 28. Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off.
To me, that sounds crazy, and it makes me scared. Christians, are you comfortable with that guy out here telling you about divine will? I'm just curious.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Brett Breaks Things, fighting for America one mic drop at a time.
So, the heart of the matter is the 22nd Amendment, right? The 22nd Amendment. So should it go in front of the Supreme Court? Do we have anything at all that would point to how they would feel about this? Do we have any evidence at all leaning one way or another from them? It's a great question. And there is a couple things we can point at. There's a couple things we can point at. Good reporting by CNN here to bring this together. Justice Amy Coney Barrett. All right. She just recently told Fox News that it was true that the 22nd Amendment appears to limit a president's tenure. That's what the amendment says, right? She said after FDR had 4 terms, that's what the amendment says. Okay, Miss Originalist, we'll see how you really feel about that. Because, from my understanding, Constitution originalists don't look too kindly on a lot of the amendments. It's not original. So, just like a number of these justices, when they were being confirmed, lied right to the American people's face. Now, I'm not telling you, my support or not support dissent against the abortion. I'm not getting into the abortion issue. All I'm saying is that Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, among one or two others, said, if confirmed, hey, Roe v. Wade is settled law. There's no reason to look at that anymore. There's no reason to reopen that issue. And stare decisis right out the window. It's the first thing they did. It's the first thing they did. They lied in their confirmation. So I'm just saying, they know the optics on unpopular positions. They know they're not stupid. She's not stupid. She's not going to come out and start giving opinion right now to Fox way ahead of the matter, that would possibly support Donald in this. or even embolden him. But she's not stupid, so she'll go ahead and say this. Just be prepared for the flop after the flip. You feel me? And Justice Sotomayor, she obviously doesn't agree with Amy Coney Barrett much. I mean, the flood of emergency dockets that this court has to deal with from the Trump administration, overwhelming, and in the ones that have been decided on, she's one of the few, obviously, the 3 liberal judges that just dissents almost every time because of the unconstitutional nature of every single emergency docket. So you would think that, she would be against such a thing. Donald running for a 3rd term, she said, the Constitution is settled law. No one has tried to challenge that. But it is in the Constitution, and one should understand that there's nothing that is greater law in the United States than the Constitution of the United States. Now, normally judges don't come out and start talking to the press about stuff. Normally they don't. Those are 2 recent comments. It's because both of them have books that are about to come out. Both of them have books that are about to come out, so they're giving interviews. Amy Coney's got a book, My Life as a Handmaid Who Needs to Go Outside. I'm just kidding. This is her book released a little earlier. Little earlier this year on the book sales. The book's called Listening to the Law, Reflections of the Court and the Constitution. Joseph Sotomayor has a book out, Just Shine, How to Be a Better You. That's nice. And Brett Kavanaugh actually has a new book out. I Like Beer, My Adventures with PJ and Squee. You can find that on bookshelves if you want to go looking for that. Now, so they're talking to the media. They don't usually talk to the media, but they're talking about that a little bit, setting up for it. Would you believe there is a think tank and little bastion of money called the Third Term Project? Oh, yeah. The Third Term Project, devoted to getting President Donald J. Trump his rightful 3rd term in office. And more, I'm sure they're hoping. Oh, this is a charming little group, and they have a mission statement. I wanted you to hear just a little bit. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to give them a ton of free pub. We're just going to give you a little bit of their mission statement. This is good. The Founding Fathers never put term limits into the Constitution for a reason. They knew that there may come a time when a leader would rise with the steadfast will to resolve the liberty of the American people. George Washington left on his own volition. He was not removed via arbitrary mandate. How dare you evoke George Washington's name? He stood for everything you stand against right now. George Washington is the antithesis of Donald J. Trump. How dare you invoke his name? It goes on. President Trump is the leader that the Founding Fathers knew would arise and whose ability to restore liberty should not be restricted. This is why it is imperative that the Third Term Project is successful. It should alarm you but not surprise you that there's big money invested in his 3rd term. Obviously. There are those who are loving this action. They are profiting greatly off of this administration, while the administration itself profits greatly on every single grift. There are a lot of people who would love to see his 3rd term. Love it. You go ask your closest MAGA friend and just ask him real quick. Would you support Joe Biden or Barack Obama if he had gone for a 3rd term by using the same methods that are described here by Steve Bannon and others? And MAGA will say no. And obviously, I'm paraphrasing whatever they would actually say, but it would be a resounding no. And then in the same convo, in the next breath, ask them, are you okay with Trump in a 3rd term? And they will say, please, all day, Daddy. All day. And 4th and 5th. They're all about it. They don't mind a dictator if it's their guy. If it's their guy. They don't mind it. What are things dictators do? First and most effective thing they do is weaponize the military. Check. Pete Hegseth Oh, yeah. Pete Hegseth. He's out here. I mean, our military is Trump's personal military now. It's Trump's personal army. Increasingly, with every story that we cover, every day that goes by, every city that gets invaded, every boat that gets blown up, and we'll get there, every time this military gets perverted for his will, to his pleasure, we get closer to a dictatorship. And now they're out here talking about elections.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Yeah, that's a yes. That's a yes out of our Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth. That's a yes. So this memo is detailing the National Guard Response Force trained in civil unrest, chemical, biological, civil warfare. And they want a little piece of this force in all 50 states by 2028. The elections. A federal force at every state, possibly every polling place across the country. This is what I said a week ago that they would do when we talked about that election story, and we talked about that hot new election official that they created a spot for, and her call with all the election officials across the country where they were looking for reassurance about the elections, and all they got was more bat crap crazy talking points and nonsense and conspiracy theories out of their top official. Yeah, that story, and I said at the end of the story, she talked about power that was going to be afforded to her that wasn't afforded to the first Trump presidency. And I said that is going to directly equate to troops at the polling places, period. And now here we go. And this memo, this is why Hegseth is cracking down on the media at the Pentagon. Crap like this. This is exactly why the media is so necessary at the Pentagon. Crap like this. We get our hands on this memo. It's obviously leaked. He obviously didn't want it out there, and we got a hold of it like we should. It's our Department of Defense. It's our money that pays Pete Hegseth, the soldiers, and all that military hardware. It's us. It's ours. We deserve to know. You do not get to kick out the press. So yes, it got leaked. Sorry, Pete. And you know what? That sounded like a resounding yes to the answer to that person's question. Are you planning on having a federal force in all 50 states by 2028? Yeah. We are planning that. That's what we do with the military in a dictatorship. We sit on elections. We move our troops around opposition states and cities. You know what else we do? We blow non-state combatants out of the water, overseas, on the coasts of other continents.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, where the truth hits harder than the headlines.
Yeah, strikes on boats overseas, right? But this is a two-pronged attack. I continue to lay it out as it continues to develop from the first boat strike. We dove into this topic, and as it started to unfold, we started to see the context very clearly around here. Scotty and I did. And we told you what this was ramping up to. And the strikes are not going to stop. They're not going to stop. Here's one strike. Here's the newest one today. Of those of you listening on the podcast, you can't see it, but here I'm showing you with no sound. Boom. Giant kinetic strike on a flotilla, a little cadre of vessels there. And then another one here. Just obviously the devastating, boom, the devastating power of the U.S. military being completely unleashed on these boats just off the coast of Venezuela, traveling to Trinidad and Tobago. That's generally where they're going. That's what the intel's starting to kind of suss out. So now those strikes there, generally, they're going from Venezuela to Trinidad and Tobago. Those strikes there, these new strikes, this is a little bit different. This is in the Eastern Pacific, the other coast, right? The other side. They're starting to get hip on some of the intel that, hey, the fentanyl's not coming through the Caribbean channel there, route. It's not where the fentanyl's coming. And their own people are starting to tell them. But this strike makes 15 strikes in total with 57, maybe, probably plus, dead. Now, as these strikes unfolded, there was an evolution of their explanation. A common theme that is running throughout all of this is no congressional approval. Their talking point, we are at war with the cartels. War, actual war, like the one we waged on Al-Qaeda. And they start to talk about that. Hegseth brings that up. He wants to equate the two situations, but they were very different. The war on Al-Qaeda did have congressional approval. It did. This does not. This, Congress is getting informed on their, what's going on, play by play as the administration sees fit. When we deem it necessary, we'll give you guys an explanation of what we're doing. We're not going to ask for permission. We're not going to tell you our plans. We'll just let you know what we want you to know after the fact. That is the extent of this administration's involvement with Congress over these boat strikes. Almost none. Kind of condescending, really. And it's not being lost on the Republican side either. Obviously, the Democrats see it from what it is, but even Republicans are starting to get a little tired of getting stepped over. But they keep talking about the similarities between these non-state combatants, these drug cartel members that they're blowing up, and Al-Qaeda. They keep drawing the comparisons, okay? They keep doing it. President Barack Obama, he did drone strikes, and they were criticized. They were criticized by his political opponents. Specifically, the killing of Anwar al-Awlaki, who was deemed an operational terrorist leader. Behind the scenes, in the Obama administration, there were teams of lawyers constantly wrestling with the scope and the limits given to them by Congress. Congress had authorized their strikes on Al-Qaeda, and this administration was constantly developing lengthy notes, detailed legal memos. They constantly were citing Supreme Court precedent and opinion. They were constantly working to try to adhere to the limits that Congress had given them on this. This is all record. This is all fact. Okay? Obama was really, really, really worried about adhering to congressional limits and the scope and the oversight of Congress. Now, Trump, what does he give us in terms of disclosure? He'll share a video. He'll share a video of these boats getting blown up. He won't tell you who they are, how many, who they were exactly. Won't tell you about the evidence or the intelligence used to gather whatever, intelligence they gathered to do this, to justify this. Doesn't tell you any of that. He'll share pictures of the boats being blown up. He'll say things like it's very violent and it's amazing weaponry being used by the American government. And he'll do little snippets on social media. Obama, he would detail every move to Congress as it happens. And then all the information would be released to the public. by unauthorized disclosures, sure. That happens in every administration, but also by, Freedom of Information Act lawsuits, and then later by the administration delivering speeches giving a step-by-step rationale and, information regarding each major strike. They started to just tell us every time they do it. We got to know step by step by step through one means or another what was happening and why they were doing it. Trump doesn't afford us that. He doesn't afford us that. We don't deserve that, even though it's our military being used to do this. It's our military. Originally, he said he's got to protect Americans. He says 300,000 Americans a year die of drug overdoses. It's actually 80,000, 88,000. He can't even just tell the truth about that. He didn't really have to lie about that, but that's the crappy salesman in him. The real number is 88,000. He could just say, hey, it's 88,000. I have to protect those people. But no, he's got to do the crappy salesman thing, the inflation thing, and make it 300,000. He just can't help himself. He has to lie. Even when it doesn't matter what anybody thinks, he's going to do what he wants. He's got to lie. He's got to lie. So he says it's self-defense at first. First few explosions were self-defense. Then as time went on, they became armed combatants. Armed narco traffickers coordinating with cartels to assault and kill American citizens. We're at war with them. We're at war with the traffickers and the cartels. That is the explanation he has given Congress. We are at war with them. And they like to point to the fact that President Trump is the commander-in-chief of the army, doesn't really need to explain his actions to you. You know, that whole plenary authority thing Stephen Miller let out of the bag? They're starting to point to that more and more and more. They're not saying plenary authority. They're saying Title 10, commander-in-chief, this and that, protect American citizens. They're saying everything but plenary authority. Only Stephen Miller screwed up and said that out loud, which is hilarious. Now, there are opinions on this. There's lots of opinions on this. Jax Goldsmith, a Harvard law school professor and top Justice Department lawyer under George W. Bush, a Republican, he said, Mr. Trump's actions demonstrated an indifference to law that threatened to hollow it out. Nixon tried to keep his criminality secret, and the Bush administration tried to keep the torture secret, and that secrecy acknowledged the norm that these things were wrong. You hear what he's saying there? He's saying Trump's not even trying to keep it secret because he doesn't give a crap about how it looks, and he doesn't give a crap about how this country has been run for decades. None of that tradition and the norms that this guy's talking about, they don't apply to Donald. He's bigly, he's strongly, he's quickly. He's not going to apply to your norms. So he doesn't even bother trying to hide it. He's saying Bush at least tried to hide the torture. Nixon at least tried to hide Watergate and some of the other criminality. This dude's not even trying to hide it. Not even trying to hide it. Trump, as he often does when he is breaking laws or norms, is acting publicly and without shame or unease. This is a very successful way to destroy the efficacy of law and norms. Well said. Well said. What do one of the scumbags out of the White House have to say? This one, Anna Kelly, said in a statement that Mr. Trump promised during the campaign to take on drug cartels whose actions resulted in the needless death of innocent Americans. She suggested his unprecedented action would continue. All of these decisive strikes have been against designated narco-terrorists, as affirmed by U.S. intelligence, bringing deadly poison to our shores. And the president will continue to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. That is what the White House is saying. They're banging the drum. You're in danger. You're in danger from these narco-terrorists. They are combatants killing our American citizens, and we will do what we need to do with any combatant we are at war with, which is if we see you, you're dead. We see you, you're dead. What intelligence are referring to? We're not going to tell you that. Who it was, exactly how many, what evidence we have that they were narco-terrorists, you don't get any of that. You don't get any of that. You just take our word for it. Your life is in danger. And we are at war with the cartels. Remember, I said that in my campaign? Well, I'm coming through. Coming through with that. We're at war with the cartels. That's what we're getting out of this administration. That's what we're getting. inside the administration, inside the military, officials, over 20 people familiar with the route that these drug narco terrorists are taking and the strikes. Now we're talking 20 people. We're talking current and former U.S. officials and international officials. Obviously, all of them know better, and they're all speaking through under anonymity. So you can just say, well, who are they, or I'm not listening to you, fine. But for those of you who are willing to believe an outlet like the Washington Post, we are being told within this administration, several of these officials, many people are saying, none of this holds up. None of this rationale you're using holds up. None of it does. Fentanyl does not go through Venezuela. It just doesn't. It's cocaine. It's marijuana and it's cocaine. Okay? It doesn't go through there. All the officials are screaming, listen, the fentanyl's coming from China into Mexico and then up through the border or on the Pacific coast itself. None of the fentanyl's coming through this way. None of it. None of it. One senior U.S. national security official, current, said, when I saw an internal document on the strikes, I immediately thought, this isn't about the terrorists. This is about Venezuela and regime change. But there was no information about what this is really about. No information. People in Venezuela are coming out and they're saying, you killed fishermen who are trafficking marijuana to Trinidad and Tobago for a better life. Yes. A whole bunch of people have come out and said, yes, my son and his friend were trafficking cocaine. They were going to Trinidad and Tobago. They were trying to make some extra cash because life here is very hard. They are not non-state combatants threatening the children of America. Far from it. Far from it. And that is why they are not giving us any information. That is why they're not expounding or trying to even rationalize with Congress truly about what they're doing. Because across all fronts, it's garbage. It's garbage. There is no precedent for a group carrying illegal substances somehow being treated as an enemy combatant. There's no precedent from it. That's a switch. That's a switch from trying to stop drug smuggling to being at war. They're saying we're at war with the cartels. They're saying we're at war with the cartels, but they give us no evidence at all that the people getting blown up are part of cartels. These people from Venezuela, they're saying, no, we are not part of Tren de Aragua or anything else. They're fishermen trying to smuggle some cocaine across the bay. That's what they are, not non-state combatants.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Brett breaks things because someone has to.
All right, so we are definitely, this is the last segment, right, Scotty? But we're going to go long. This is number 4, so we're going long. I promised you we'd go long. Since we didn't have a show yesterday, it sucked. So we're going long today. We're going to war with Venezuela is what this is all amounting to. I'm telling you right now. Telling you, I'm almost as sure of this as I was of how long the shutdown was going to last. And so to those of you who are tuning in later in the show, really sorry about yesterday. Power was out on the block here at the studio, was out all the way till 4 o'clock. Couldn't do the show. So we're going long today. Anybody who is, concerned about the show or wants to help out, please donate. Donating would be amazing as we're flipping over into the next month. If you go to Brett Breaks Things, brettbreaksthings.com. If you can't find us on the URL for some reason, go ahead and just pop it in the Google bar. You'll find us. And on brettbreaksthings.com, you will see a donate button. Anything you can donate, as anything. I'm talking pennies, whatever. Unbelievably appreciated. And so thank you for that. Thank you for that. So I'm talking about he's giving us no answers. He's relying on intelligence that he won't share with us. He'll only share rhetoric and the boat's exploding. Of course, he also went ahead and let the cat out of the bag and told the whole world that his CIA has been deployed inside Venezuela. Well done. Even their foreign minister was like, "Oh, by the way, thanks, Trump. Thanks. I mean, you've sent spies before, but this is the first time you've told us, and we appreciate it." And we'll get to that. So, how's he doing this? How's he getting the intelligence? He's not going to tell us. He's not going to tell us about the intelligence, the evidence, who these people truly are. Won't tell us. He says things like, we have recorded proof and evidence. We know what time they're leaving, when they're leaving. That's the same thing, Don. That's what it says here. We know what time they're leaving, when they're leaving, what they had, and all the other things you'd like to have. Don doesn't know anything himself. He's just saying things. He's just senile and he's saying things. He continues to say the cargo was splattered all over the ocean on one of the strikes, he said. And he said, big bags of cocaine and fentanyl are all over the place. Okay, well, Don, somebody should have told you. I guess there's no reining this guy in. But fentanyl is very compact. It is so easy to smuggle compared to other drugs because a very small amount is worth so much. And so it gets smuggled in very tiny amounts, very small packaging, very small. And so he says bags of cocaine and fentanyl. There are no big bags of fentanyl. That's not how it happens. It was cocaine or weed. It was cocaine or weed, but he has to add the fentanyl in there without knowing, with no knowledge on the situation for sure. And just has to say fentanyl because that's been the talking point. So he adds fentanyl, but there was no big bags of fentanyl strewn across the ocean. That did not happen. About his audio intelligence. Former and current intelligence gatherers, they're saying, look, if they're relying on just audio, that's a problem. All of these drug smugglers and gang members, cartel members as well, use code. They all use code. Now, it is acknowledged that some of these people using code aren't as clever as they think they are. And they are getting found out and figured out by people smarter than them. That certainly is at play. But the majority of them are good at what they do. Their survival depends on it, and they're very good at it. And the U.S. government could be going on faulty information. They could be, assuming quite a bit when translating some of this code. Taking liberties, let's say. I think they said this, or I think they said that. Let's just go with they said it and sort it out later. And that's kind of what they're going on with the audio surveillance. There's lots of flaw to it. Lots of ways they could get it wrong. And they're getting it wrong because so many people have come out and said, look, my son wasn't even a drug trafficker. That was a cheap way to get from Venezuela back to Trinidad. He was over there working for months with his neighbor, one mother said. He and his neighbor went over there months ago to work, bring back money for the family. And yes, there may have been drugs on that boat, but these two were getting a ride back to the island for a cheaper rate, because of the drugs on the boat. Blown up. Goodbye. Don't worry about that ride back. Don't worry about that money back home. Trump took care of that for you. What intelligence are they gathering to prevent any of that? Does anybody care if they prevent any of that? Do Republicans care? We know Trump doesn't care. We know Hegseth does not care. We've already seen one admiral in the region. He led the South County region for 2 years. He just stepped down. This latest movement of troops to the region, he fulfilled his duty, did his orders, fulfilled his last orders, right? Complied with his last set of orders and then quit. Some people care. Trump doesn't care. Some people care that innocent people are getting blown out of the water off the coast of Venezuela. Some people care. Okay? Their method for picking their boats is very, very flawed. And Trump says, I'm not going to be seeking Congress's approval going forward either. Not interested. While you cry about me stepping over you with the first 15 strikes, I'm here to tell you, Congress, that you're not going to be a part of the decision-making process going forward either. He said he would, this is Trump. He said he would bypass Congress rather than seek its approval to carry out military strikes against drug cartels that traffic narcotics to the United States, even as he vowed he would expand the operation from attacks at the sea to targets on land. Yeah, he's talking about land targets. You know, he's at war with non-state combatants. So just like if we saw an Al-Qaeda base in, Syria or Iraq or Iran, they're non-state combatants. We're at war with them. We'll strike them. We're not really interested in whose border this base currently sits in. They're non-state combatants. We'll sort it out later. You get hit. And he's saying we may have to hit some targets inside Venezuela. While seeking a $50 million bounty on Venezuela's president's head for drug trafficking, claiming he is the head of a cartel. You see where this is going? I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war, said Trump. I think we're going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country, okay? We're going to kill them, They are going to be like dead. You still want your kid to sit down in front of a Trump presser, parents? MAGA parent? I'm just curious. While he drops the F-bomb, says the S word, and talks about taking human life, they'll be like dead. You still good with your kids watching a Trump presser? You want your kid to turn out just like Donnie here? Just curious. I mean, he's talking about Judge Dredd type stuff. Trump said, we were working to arrest, prosecute, and permanently remove people who are part of an elaborate drug cartel operation inside the United States. That's Judge Dredd. I don't know if you've seen the movie. He shows up. Where's the evidence? You're guilty. Execution. That's Judge Dredd. It's the plot of that movie, that dystopian movie and comic book, Judge Dredd. Now, there was a vote to block these strikes. We'll get to that too. There was a vote to block these strikes. That didn't get there. Didn't make it. Didn't cut the mustard. This week, they're going to vote on a bipartisan resolution to block President Trump from going to war with Venezuela without congressional approval. I know what you're thinking. At least it's something, right? It probably won't get there, but at least they're doing something. That's true. All I see this as is a chance for Republicans in the Senate to go, Trump, you want to see loyalty? You want to see how in lockstep I am with you? All or nothing, ride or die? Vote this down. Vote this down. Give him plenary authority. You want to show your devotion to your dear leader, real devotion that will secure your place at his side during the next iteration of our government, whatever it may be? Vote this down. Tell President Trump, Steve Miller was right. You have plenary authority. He's right. You have plenary authority, Mr. President. Do what you want. Do what you want. Trump said the cartels are waging war against America, and just like I promised in the campaign, we are waging war against them. Hegseth, he says every boat we strike is 25 Americans whose lives were saved because of the drugs that were headed in our direction. Our message to these foreign terrorist organizations is, we will treat you like we have treated Al-Qaeda. We will find you, we will map your networks, and we will hunt you down and kill you. You see what they're doing? All drug cartels. They're not telling us which cartels. At least the Obama administration named the terrorist organization they were at war with. It's Al-Qaeda. We're at war with Al-Qaeda. Congress approved it. Trump won't even tell you what cartels he's at war with. He's floated MS-13. He's floated Tren de Aragua. He's floated some obscure Venezuelan gang that he claims that Maduro's the head of. He's floated other gangs, other cartels, but he hasn't said specifically, we have declared war on MS-13, or we have declared war. All cartels. Keep it nice and nebulous so we can do as we please. We want to deem you a non-state combatant, then that's what we'll do, whoever you may be. And when you, the American people, ask, well, who are they? We don't give you that answer either. You got to trust us. We've got intelligence. What an oxymoron when used in conjunction with Pete Hegseth or Donald Trump. Intelligence. Trump said, oh, and by the way, the 25,000 American lives saved per boat, well, we've got 15 boats. 88,000 Americans died last year of a drug overdose. So you cleared that after the fourth boat, dude. Cleared that after the fourth boat. So now you're killing people and saving potential lives? Potential stats? I don't know what we're doing. You solve the problem, right? Each boat saves 25,000. We only have 88,000 dead. You did it. Mission accomplished. Well done. You overdid it. Trump, he said he may go to the Senate to inform lawmakers as the campaign shifts from maritime operations to land strikes, and told Mr. Hegseth to go to Congress. You tell him about it. He may inform the Senate. He may inform lawmakers. Not ask their permission. Inform them. He may, but not necessarily. Yeah. And Trump said finally, what are you going to do? Challenging the Senate to shut down these strikes in any way. He said, what are you going to do? Say, gee, we don't want to stop drugs pouring in? They're killing 300,000 per year. He's challenging. He's giving them their talking point. Republicans, we've got this vote coming up. You vote yes on that. You vote yes on stopping me from invading Venezuela. Well, you're just allowing drugs to pour into the country. What are you going to do that, Senate Republicans? Is that what you're all about? He's handing them their talking point and challenging them all in one little, nice, tight little blurb. Well, the Republicans are listening, and they're watching. And some of them just can't get over their own ego. Period. I mean, that's really what it is to me. Like, they've been complicit to every move he's made, for the most part, Republicans on the Hill. But now Don is slapping them personally in the face. You see, they made it to this gigantic high position of power. They are senators. They are senators, for God's sake. The power that comes along with this, including the power to approve war. And Trump is just making them eunuchs. Just clipping them all. Just clipping them. All their power. Just stepping right over them, slapping them in the face. Not only will I not ask you for permission to do this, not only will I not go to you for congressional approval for war, I may inform you from time to time about what I'm doing. And as far as a legal basis for what I'm doing, I'm offering nothing in terms of legality. I am not bothering putting my lawyers to work to explain to you the legality of what I've decided to do with my military. I have plenary authority. After all, Stephen Miller told you that. Weren't you listening? So, some of these Republicans are getting their hackles up a little bit. They're getting their hackles up. They don't really care about dead Venezuelans and dead Trinidadians. They don't really care about that, right? I mean, the policies that they have okayed and co-signed and written off on and been complicit to, you think this is going to stop them? Really? The dead bodies? No. They are upset. They're getting stepped over. Mike Rounds, Republican out of South Dakota, said, we have oversight responsibilities. We expect to get our questions answered. You can expect all you want, Mike, but that's not how this game is played anymore. Susan Collins said she would like to see the Senate pass a resolution that either authorizes his force or prevents its use. But come and ask us. She's out here really just saying to you, I don't care how it goes. I don't have any dog in this fight. I don't give a crap about Venezuelans. Either give them the green light or don't. But you got to come ask us. We're important, Don. Look at us. Hear us. Ask us. Just ask us. We'll give it to you. We'll do whatever you say. Just give us a little respect. Susan. She said either authorize it or don't. Meh, doesn't make a difference to me. Doesn't make a difference. Senator Tom Tillis out of North Carolina, he said, this is a legitimate discussion between two branches of government that we should always be having. I think we've got to be very careful when you're talking about ordering a kinetic strike. He's concerned about the optics of a kinetic strike. That's what Tom Tillis is concerned about, not his ego. Definitely not his ego. You've got to be very careful when talking about a kinetic strike. Rumph. No, his feelings have been hurt. And by the way, those three people I just mentioned, the people that are, oversight, we have to be part of the conversation. We have to be very careful. Those three people I just told you about, yeah, they all voted against the resolution to stop his strikes in Venezuela. Okay, so I don't want to hear from you anymore. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to hear from you. Collins had some stuff to say. I don't want to hear from you. You want to say that, and then you want to vote that way. You're invalidated. You're obvious. I see you for what you are. And what's worse is that you all know the morality issues with these strikes. You all know how everyday average American people truly view extrajudicial killings, how it's a bad thing. You know that. You know the optics of Trump stepping over Congress to do what he wants with the military. You know it. You know how bad it is. But you won't vote for it. You'll say the thing in front of the press, but you won't vote for it. I see you. James Lankford, Republican out of Oklahoma, he said if this was happening with this level of insight under the Biden administration, I'd be apoplectic. We're not his opponent on this. We're an ally in this to be able to solve it, but we need to be able to have a voice on it as a co-equal branch. Oh, please, Don, give us our respect. We sold our soul to get to this position. It's got to be worth something. Don, you're making us feckless. You're making us impotent. You're disrespecting us in front of the whole world. Don, please just ask us. We'll do what you want. Just ask us, please. Yeah. So the Republicans know the optics on this. They know the optics. Only 2 Republicans voted for the resolution to stop the strikes. Lisa Murkowski out of Alaska, she usually says the right thing every now and then. She'll vote the right way at first till she gets her concession, whatever it may be. And the usual suspect, Rand Paul, who has got to be thinking seriously about a run at the presidency. As much as he's come out against the president's policies, he's gone for some of it, but he's come out very publicly about a lot of it, including these strikes, specifically about these strikes. And I'll listen to Rand Paul. I'll listen to Lisa Murkowski on this, because you put your money where your mouth is. Unlike those other 3, Tillis and Collins, you put your money where your mouth is, I'll listen to what you have to say. I want to hear what you have to say. You bought my attention.
Start with you, Senator Paul. What do you need to hear in a briefing? What questions do you have?
You know, it's not so much about a briefing, but we haven't had a briefing. To be clear, we've got no information. I've been invited to no briefing. But a briefing is not enough to overcome the Constitution. The Constitution says that when you go to war, Congress has to vote on it. And during a war, then, there's a lower rules for engagement. And people do sometimes get killed without due process. But the drug war or the crime war has typically been something we do through law enforcement. And so far, they have alleged that these people are drug dealers. No one said their name. No one said what evidence. No one said whether they're armed. And we've had no evidence presented. So at this point, I would call them extrajudicial killings. And this is akin to what China does, to Iran does with drug dealers. They summarily execute people without presenting evidence to the public. So it's wrong.
All right,
extrajudicial can be a little tricky to say. It's tricky for me to say sometimes, and I'm perfectly sober. Imagine a 3 bourbon lunch and trying to say extrajudicial. So there's Rand Paul. He's on the right side of this one. He's on the right side every now and then, right? I mean, everything he does is for personal gain. This could be to gain a little momentum as one of the dissenters from the Republican side who, when it comes time to primary Donald Trump, he may be able to get it done if he runs for another term. If he runs against other Republicans, he can be that guy, though. I mean, if we're talking like what should happen, primary against actual other Republicans, not Trump. I mean, this is the type of stuff, if Trump's unpopularity continues to fester, this is the type of stuff that he's going to be able to go to the American people with. So who's the worst of the worst? Who's out here explaining away, doing the gymnastics. Brian Mast out of Florida, he's a House member out of Florida. He says the strikes are based on credible intelligence provided by numerous agencies. Harumph. John Kennedy, noted scumbag out of Louisiana. Hate this dude. John Kennedy said, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio had assured GOP senators in a briefing that the administration is on solid legal ground. At some point, we will have oversight hearings, he said. At some point, we'll have those. But Jim Reich, who would call those oversight hearings, he is the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. He says, and by the way, he's not going to be calling for any oversight, I promise you. He says the President of the United States saves lives, lots of lives. We should be commending him, not trying to undercut him. He's the commander-in-chief, and he's got to make decisions that are in the best interest of the United States to protect the people of the United States. He should be commended for what he's doing against those drug traffickers. He's saving thousands of kids' lives. That's what they'll say. And even old snake in the grass Lindsay, if the boat had a bunch of terrorists on it, Al-Qaeda or ISIS types, we'd blow them up too. Well done, Lindsay. Way to get your little 2 cents in.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things.
We're coming back for a 5th segment. People, stay with me.
Brett Breaks Things, fighting for America one mic drop at a time.
All right, we're coming back with you in an extended show. I appreciate y'all staying with me. I did promise it, and man, this Venezuela thing, like, you know, we're going along with it step by step by step. And my audience, those of you who've been with me, this is progressing very naturally, and you understand the progression. And when the time comes and when this becomes something that has completely captured the national attention, the global attention, and it has become the conflict that we foresee it to be, you and I will be completely caught up on how we got here. And the buildup, the violence, the tension, it's all building. A couple B-1 bombers were seen off the coast of Venezuela, right over where their meager military, was doing exercises previously. In an area where they do exercises, we sent 2 B-1 bombers. It's a little flyby. How you doing? Now, one, these things fly at sonic speeds, supersonic speeds, and they carry 75,000 pounds worth of bombs on them, okay? And they conduct surveillance. They're very useful, these B-1 bombers, and they conduct surveillance. You know, this is the type of crap that Kim Jong-un does. Sending missiles flying off the coast of Japan, ramping up military maneuvers in the seas that they share, things like this. This is the crap that tin pot dictators do, no doubt. We've had the flyovers already. The helicopters have been on maneuvers off the coast of Venezuela. The little birds, right? Those are meant to support a ground attack. Let's just be clear about what these maneuvers are signaling. They're signaling what Trump himself is saying. I'm not going to ask Congress about these boat strikes or permission, and I'll let you know about the land strikes. I'll let you know, or Pete will let you know, because you don't really deserve my attention. Pete, we'll send him along with any messages we have to give you, Congress, about our strikes on land as well. Okay? I mean, it's a clear buildup of the military. And then when I tell you the military is building in this area, they're building for war. 8 carriers. The 160th with the little birds, F-15s, F-18s. It's building. They've sent the USS Gerald R. Ford to the region. It was previously on a months-long European deployment. It has been called back. That itself has F-18s, about 5,000 troops on it. About 5,000, no big deal. About 5,000 sailors on that one. Surveillance, airport, 75 craft in total between the F-18s, support craft, surveillance craft. No biggie. Just one of our greatest warships. Also, the USS Gravely, which is a guided missile destroyer, that has been sent to the area. You know, we talked about the MV Ocean Trader, which was this giant civilian ship, which was converted into a floating base of operations for our military. By the way, the Gerald R. Ford, they're all heading towards this MV Ocean Trader. The Gerald R. Ford it's accompanied by 3 other warships at all times: the USS Mahan, the USS Winston Churchill, and the USS Bainbridge. They go everywhere the Gerald R. Ford goes. It's looking like about 10,000 soldiers are in the area right now, and they're looking to bolster those numbers as we speak. You got the Reaper drones, F-35s, F-18s. You know, the buildup is dramatic. Okay, the buildup is very dramatic. And Don told you himself that the CIA was authorized to, conduct missions in Venezuela. Went out and told him, because that's the first thing you want to do when you send spies to someone's country, is you want to tell them you've sent spies. Something like that would have adverse effects to its success rate, you would think, right? Well, you'd be right. You'd be right, because Venezuela has claimed that they have captured U.S.-backed CIA mercenaries. They got some. Yep. He said he captured a group of alleged mercenaries with U.S. ties to the CIA. Their vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, said the arrests revealed what it described as a false flag operation planned from the waters bordering Trinidad and Tobago or from Trinidadian or Venezuelan territory to generate a full-scale military confrontation against Venezuela. That's what their vice president is saying. He is saying that the U.S. is trying to put together and conduct a false flag, a false flag operation. I know everybody in my audience knows what a false flag is, right? The sinking of the Lusitania, the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Some people say Pearl Harbor. There's other, alleged incidents that have been considered false flag incidents to put us into conflict, to vault us into conflict. The Venezuelan government is saying our CIA is currently trying to piece together, conduct a false flag operation to launch us into war. Now, the Venezuelan government did not release any evidence or details about the alleged arrests. They didn't give us the number of suspects, the nationality of the suspects, where they were detained, why they were detained, how they were detained. Doesn't want to give us none of that. None of that. But they said a lot. Venezuela said a lot. And it's going to be the rhetoric and the military buildup. Then it's going to be strikes within Venezuela. And what does the rhetoric sound like? What does the buildup of the rhetoric sound like? It sounds like what Maduro and his people are saying on the heels of these arrests. It sounds like this. And by the way, they are trying to actively drag Trinidad and Tobago into this because of our military maneuvers and troops stationing in that country. Their president has said we are completely on board with these military maneuvers. We're on board with the U.S.'s mission to stop drug trafficking in the region. They can use our ports, our land, to conduct missions. Trinidad and Tobago are on board with the U.S. mission. And so Venezuela is seeing this as aggressive. They don't like it. They're calling out Trinidad and Tobago, increasingly calling them out, putting them as an entity with the U.S. coup attempt, attaching them to it solidly. The statement accused Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Kamla Persad Besesar, of having renounced the sovereignty of her country to act as a military colony subordinate to U.S. hegemonic interests. So calling the Trinidad and Tobago a subordinate of ours, giving up their sovereignty. They've given up their sovereignty to the U.S. war machine, is what they're accusing. Quote, by aligning herself with Washington's militarist agenda, Persad Besesar not only seeks to attack Venezuela and break our historical bonds of brotherhood, but also violates the United Nations Charter, the CELAC Declaration of Latin American and Caribbean as a zone of peace, and the principles of CARICOM. CELAC is the community of Latin American and Caribbean states. There's 33 countries that are in CELAC, C-E-L-A-C. As far as CARICOM, that's the Caribbean community, and that has 15 countries in it, and they have their own charter and ideals that they uphold, a philosophical brotherhood of these countries in the Caribbean. And Venezuela saying, you're breaking those. Trinidad and Tobago, you're breaking those. You're breaking them. The Maduro government said the alleged military maneuvers are part of an effort to turn the Caribbean into a space for lethal violence and U.S. imperial domination. That is rhetoric ramping up. That is rhetoric that ramps up around war. Make no mistake, the statement also accuses Trinidad and Tobago's government of human rights violations, alleging that innocent fishermen have been victims of extrajudicial executions in the Caribbean Sea. Maduro warned that Venezuela does not accept threats and said its armed forces would remain alert and mobilized in perfect civil, military, police unity. Our republic, heir of Bolivar and Chavez, will always defend its sovereignty, its territorial integrity, and its right to live in peace against foreign enemies and their vassals. Talking about Trinidad. So he brings up Bolivar. He brings up Guevara, some other people. Because our history in that region is long. They're accusing us, Venezuela is, they're accusing us of regime change, pursuing regime change. That is what they're accusing us of doing. And they may not be too far off. Not only have we done it in the region several times, but there is evidence we have attempted to do it already in Venezuela. There was Haiti in 1915, Dominican Republic in 1916, and Nicaragua in 1926. They all failed and led to the rise of brutal despotic leaders like Francois Papadoc Duvalier, Rafael Trujillo, Anastasio Somoza, and others. Okay, and others. We tried it in Guatemala in 54. That didn't go well. That ended in a 36-year civil war. And speaking of Che Guevara, he was in Guatemala when that civil war kicked off. It started him on his revolutionary path. We created Che Guevara. We created him. There was the Bay of Pigs invasion in 61. That failed. We tried to take Fidel Castro out. It failed. What did that lead to? I don't have to tell a lot of people in my audience. Yeah, the Soviet missile crisis, the Cuban Missile Crisis, JFK's big old mess. That's what it led to. Cuba putting Soviet missiles at our doorstep. At our doorstep. Now, allegedly, in 2019, the Trump administration backed one of Maduro's generals, and it led to a coup, a failed coup. There's a lot of evidence pointing towards the Trump administration orchestrated it. I'm saying allegedly. You want to believe that's ironclad truth? Then so be it. Then you do that. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you. But since we failed and he purged his military, he's considered coup-proof. So Plan A failed. In 2019, Plan A failed. So they're on to Plan B. Trump, he is saying, his beef with Venezuela, what he's saying to us is drugs are coming from Venezuela attacking United States citizens. And your president, Maduro, is the head of a cartel. He's the one doing it. $50 million bounty on his head. And he's saying, don't forget, Venezuela is emptying their prisons and sending them to the U.S. There's no evidence of this. None. No evidence. Nor does Trump bother providing any or even attempting to provide any. Doesn't even attempt it. But there is no evidence of this. But what is funny about this? Couple little details about this Venezuelan beef, about this war that's about to kick off. One, Trump just approved a license to drill in Venezuela for Chevron. Why would you approve a license for Chevron to pump oil in Venezuela that will pay the government that you claim is a cartel? Why would you do that? The only thing I can think of without doing any serious investigating on this, because it's just kind of an aside to what I'm talking about, but I would guess that somebody within Chevron has paid deference to Trump in some way. Somebody played ball. And so Trump just out here, just working against his own interests. You claim Maduro is a drug cartel leader, not member, leader. And you okay the drilling of Chevron that's going to pay him millions. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Also, if you're going to wage war on Venezuela, wouldn't you want some assistance or at least complicity out of the countries around them? But as we speak, he is hammering Colombia, hammering Brazil. Brazil has the 50% tariff because they tried to bring up their former dictator Bolsonaro on charges. He said, drop the charges and I'll drop the tariffs. I mean, crazy. Calls their president, the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, he calls him a drug leader and an illegal president and a drug leader. He says that he's allowing cocaine to flourish under his watch. This guy's like, no, I've been combating this since I got here, and this is fantasy land. But he has come out and said that the Trump administration shouldn't be extrajudicially killing people. He said a few things about that. They went back and forth a little bit. And what it ended with is our Treasury Department leveling sanctions on Colombia's president and his family and some business associates. They now have economic sanctions. You see, Colombia came out. First of all, we struck a couple of Colombian boats. There was 3 Colombian survivors, and we sent them back to Colombia. That was interesting. We let them live and sent them back to Colombia. We didn't arrest them or investigate them in any way. We didn't root out the source of their drug smuggling. We simply sent them back to Colombia. That was interesting. But that happened. Colombia came out, their president, Mr. Petro, came out and said, hey, this is wrong what the Trump administration is doing. They shouldn't just be blowing people up without investigation or arrests. This is wrong. You're killing fishermen. So Trump said he sanction him, called Petro an illegal drug leader, and said he would cut off all aid to Colombia. What aid to Colombia? We were currently slated to give $377 million to Colombia to help their drug enforcement and law enforcement, civilian law enforcement, bolster their law and order. Essentially, he's cutting it off. Done, because you had the temerity to come out against this administration's decision-making in your region. You're done. And you've got sanctions. You can no longer do business in the United States. You can no longer do business with U.S. citizens. You're done. You, your family, your allies, sanctioned. Your country, cut off. Say something else. You'd think you'd want to get in good with somebody like Colombia and its president. If you're planning on invading Venezuela, you'd think you'd want to get in good with Brazil. Have access to their intelligence and their land to launch assaults, whatever. No, isolating both of them. That's not the plan. Trump doesn't do things to his benefit. Shoots himself right in the foot. All right. So the shutdown is continuing. I have to talk about it a little bit. The American Federation of Government Employees, who represents 800,000 federal workers, have come out and asked the Democrats specifically, please sign the Republicans' continuing resolution, their clean resolution. This is unfortunately a major crack in the Democrats' resolve. They're going to tell you it's not. Okay? But it is. There's been a couple cracks. Okay, first, Everett Kelly, the president of the American Federation of Government Employees, or AFGE, like I said, represents 800,000 federal workers, came out and said this: it's time to pass a clean, continuing resolution and end this shutdown today. Kelly called the situation an avoidable crisis that is harming families and communities. Both political parties have made their point, and there is no clear end in sight. And he says Democrats need to sign the clean resolution. This person representing this union that represents 800,000 federal workers is specifically telling the Democrats, sign the clean resolution. We are no longer interested in your ACA fight. We are no longer interested in reining in the power of Russ Vought. That doesn't interest us anymore. In the interest of our people, End it. End it. End it clean. Democrats on the Hill, who a lot of them didn't want to give their name, but reps on the Hill have come out and said, this isn't a big deal. This isn't a big deal. Some have given their names, some haven't. A few haven't. One didn't give their name, said, I have a lot of AFGE members in my district, and they are pissed at this statement. That's what this Dem is saying. The people I represent, the AFGE members that I represent, they're pissed at the statement. They don't feel the same way that Mr. Kelly does. They don't feel that way. They think Republicans have been shutting down the government anyway, and buy our argument about the ACA. Another DC lawmaker, another Dem, said they're not sure there is much of a difference after this statement, and that the potential cutoff of nutritional assistance benefits is the bigger issue to watch. This person's like saying this is a non-issue. You need to be watching SNAP and the food stamps. That's what you need to watch. Because if the Dems can convince their constituents that the Republicans are letting SNAP run out, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt the optics for the Republicans. But alternately, obviously, if the Republicans can convince the American people that it's the Democrats that are letting the SNAP benefits run out, then that will help them. That will hurt the Democrats a lot. A lot. Now, a third Dem on the Hill said universities, law firms, media outlets, judges, now unions. To protect the immediate need of their members, they will cave and call on their defenders to give in. Their workforce will be decimated ultimately by this administration if we cave in. If I'm truly one of these federal workers or judges or somebody at a university or any of these people that are pleading with the Democrats to sign a clean resolution to open this government, if I'm one of them that truly feels that way, that just pissed me off. Because that rep right there said, yeah, I hear you and I don't care. Basically is what he just told you. I hear you. You want me to just sign this. I don't care. I'm not going to. I don't believe you. I know what's best for you. I know what's best for you. I have your best interest at heart. If we cave like you want us to cave, you'll be decimated by this administration. We have to do what's best for you, regardless of what you're saying. Dick Durbin told reporters he is not announcing any change in my position at this time, but that the statement has a lot of impact and that the AFGE are our friends. So Durbin's going to be a little more political about it, right? He's going to acknowledge, hey, that hurts. We hear you. You're our friends. I'm not changing my position. Not doing it. Rep. Don Bayer said, in general, the people we've been hearing from overwhelmingly have said, hold the line and don't give in. But obviously the people at AFGE are hearing something different. I'm not going to pay any close attention to that. So if you're one of those federal workers who likes the way, your AFGE leadership is handling this, you're really not happy to hear that. No doubt. If you're one of these universities, right, that really needs the government to reopen, that's not what you wanted to hear. Your Democratic reps saying, we hear what you're saying and we don't give a crap. We're going to do what's best for this party and the American people. We're not going to cave in, not even to your demands. Sorry. Not going to cave in. Not going to cave. Not going to cave. SNAP, it's going to run out right around the corner. That's food stamps. Already, the federal government is telling the states, we're not going to reimburse you for food stamps. Some people have food stamps still, and they're going to try to spend them with you. Don't expect to get reimbursed by that. We're shut down. So you can take those food stamps if you'd like, but you're not going to get reimbursed. And at the same time, SNAP will be shut down, which means no more food stamps being sent out, being provided. So the ones that exist, government's not going to back them. And there's not going to be any going forward. SNAP is completely running out. Completely running out. That is going to apply pressure. That is going to apply pressure. Air traffic controllers. The pressure is being applied. Friday, 6,800 delays and 454 cancellations. Saturday, 5,000 delays, 175 cancellations. Sunday, 8,700 delays, 200 cancellations. Today, early today, 4,000 delays. Don't have a number on the cancellations. The pressure is mounting. The pressure is mounting, and it's mounting on the Democrats. Obviously, The Republicans have to take their share of this, but it is mounting on the Democrats. You see that the Republicans are starting to propose these side bills to pay certain people. Resolutions, bills to pay the military and air traffic controller are now getting put forth to the Senate. They're not all getting there. They're not getting the votes, but some Dems are coming across. Who? Well, there was a bill to pay the military, and John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, along with John Fetterman, who's a double agent anyway, all went along with it. Now, it didn't pass, but that's two more coming over. Two more weakening the Democrats' position. And that's what this is. And the Republicans are going to put more forth. They're going to continue to try to fund certain segments of the federal workforce. They're going to continue to try to fund them. And they're going to dare the Democrats to continue to vote no to pay federal workers, to pay air traffic controllers, to pay military, right? To put money into SNAP. They're going to dare the Democrats to vote no. Well, 3 have already come over. If more start to come over, every single Democratic senator that comes over and votes for any of these weakens the Democrats' position. Period. There's no other way to say it. And I'm not saying they're not doing the right thing or they're doing the wrong thing. I'm not saying that. It's however you feel. If you feel that's a good thing to pay the military, even if it weakens the Democrats' position on ACA, if you feel that's okay, then this should be good news. More Dems may follow. If you see it kind of like I'm seeing it, which is every single Dem that comes over on one of these, that is a weakening of the Democratic position. This is the only chance the Dems have to do anything on these ACA subsidies. We cannot afford any weakening of our position. And that's exactly what Ossoff, Warnock, and Fetterman have done. It's exactly what they've done. It's exactly what they've done. Now, the military. I think I got into the story. Pardon me. I think I got into the story a little bit about Trump reappropriating certain money. DARPA, which has a vast amounts of money congressionally appropriated to them, you know, our research and development, DARPA, the cybernetic guys, the guys who make exoskeletons that jump 10 feet and run 60 miles per hour, the guys with weather machines and secret lasers, those guys. Well, the Trump administration, they grabbed a bunch of their money to pay the military, and now it looks like that may be illegal. It may be illegal, flat out can't do it. So there's challenges to that going forward. They're going to get sued over that. They're going to get sued over that. And by the way, speaking of the military, I came into the show Friday, I think I did, talking about we had a secret funder, a secret sugar daddy for the military to pay the military. $130 million was given to the military. We know who that is now. We know who that is. Now, first, Trump came out and declined to name the person, but called him a patriot and a friend. A patriot and a friend. That was on Thursday. Then on Friday, he came out and said more. He got on Air Force One and he said, "This is a great American citizen, a substantial man, a substantial man." He doesn't want publicity. He preferred that his name not be mentioned, which is pretty unusual in the world I come from and in the world of politics. You want to be named. You want your name to be mentioned. You want to be named on these things. Very unusual. Such a great man. Well, 2 people inside the administration or familiar with the matter have given the name. It is Timothy Mellon. Timothy Mellon, a reclusive billionaire financial backer of President Trump. Now, he hadn't been a Republican backer for years. He had not really lent his fortune, his great fortune, to the Republican cause. No, he got involved when Trump came along. And when Trump came along, it was donation after donation, including a $50 million donation to a Trump super PAC during his last campaign. That's a record. That's a record. But this little $130 million, I don't know what we owe him. I don't know what was given to him or promised to him. But it turns out this $100 million donation, it's kind of pauper stuff. It's kind of low rent, low class. It's not really a big daddy, sugar daddy kind of alpha move that it sounds like it is. Not really. We appropriate $600 billion in total military compensation in 2025. That's what the 2025 budget has for military compensation. $600 billion. This $130 million, it essentially gives every military service member $100. All right, you tried an alpha move. You tried to be Big Daddy. We see you, Mr. Mellon. Put some B's instead of some M's, and we'll talk. Till then, I don't feel like we owe you that much. I don't feel like $100 per person is enough to buy loyalty to Mr. Mellon, so I'm not really that worried about it. Not really that worried about it. So the shutdown continues. The shutdown continues. The legality of the firings, the lawsuits continue. The furloughed workers, will they get paid back? Mike Johnson's saying paying them back is not self-executing. Actually, Congress should appropriate that money. Congress should. So we've got the workers being fired and the furlough workers might not be getting paid. We've got the air traffic controllers currently not being paid. The military not being paid. And you're taking DARPA. You're taking DARPA to try to make up the difference. You better be careful, Trump. Get a laser on your head. Don't mess with DARPA. Don't mess with DARPA. Meanwhile, no change in the positioning. 53-47. 53-47 on the Republicans' clean resolution. Will they ever give a crap about our ACA subsidies? Who's going to crack first? Who's now the Democrats are facing pressure. Ossoff peels off on one measure. Warnock goes with him. Fetterman, that double agent, goes with him. You've got this giant federal union, 800,000 workers saying, please just sign the clean resolution. Schumer, all these guys, they're saying position's not changing. This is the game of chicken I talked about a month ago. I told you then what my prediction would be. And my prediction still is what it is. The Democrats care about you. They care about your health care. The Republicans could easily just put ACA subsidies on this resolution and then have it signed. The Democrats would do that. The Democrats care about you. So when the damage caused by this shutdown starts to reach, or in their eyes exceed, the damage done by no extension of the subsidies, they will then fold. Trump and Senate Republicans do not care about your well-being as much as the Democrats do. That has been proven. That's not my opinion. That has been proven. They will do the same thing here, and they will fold. They will flinch. They will lose the game of chicken, and they will sign what the Republicans want them to sign to open the government back up, and they'll try to find another way to get your insurance back. Thanks for staying with me on a longer show. I will see you tomorrow.